Okay, so can everyone hear me okay? Give me a thumbs up in the chat or say I can't freaking hear you. Okay, cool. Hello, hello. All right. Um, I know last week I said when I was talking about when I did the episode on GLP-1s, I was really nervous. Today, I'm back to being excited. So, yay, you guys can get what you expect for the last, what, 10 years of me doing these Zooms. I am excited for today. And what we're going to dive into is the myth of motivation. And you guys have probably, I'm going to say some stuff that might have been repeated in our one-on-ones, and I'm going to say some new stuff today. But again, like I tell you every week, this is only meant to be something that can spark a conversation one-on-one more in depth, because everybody in here will have different versions of these problems, and there will be different solutions for everyone. So I'm going to go over what I got here today, trying to keep time in mind, right? But if this inspires anyone, please reach out. Let me know. We can address it on our next coaching call. Okay, so keep that in mind. I've got the chat open so you guys can interact with me. All right, before we get started today, before I give you my whole spiel, let's start with a focus question. So tell me in the chat, what is your relationship like with motivation? Let's start there. What is your relationship like with motivation? And you can use this month as if you don't want to like go back to the start of time and birth, for over the past month, what would you say your relationship is with motivation? Reading the chat. See, strained. When it's hot, then it peters off. I love peters off. That's fun. And I end up in a shame spiral. That's not fun, but petering off. I love them to use that. All or nothing, no middle. Yeah. Hot and cold, right? So you guys are having that, momentary blip of like, let's go, and then it fizzles, right? Or some days you wake up super pumped, and some days you wake up and you're like, oh my God, this again. I think looks like I'm not alone. No, absolutely. I never seem to have it. Super, super common, especially with the issues that we have, with um, thyroid issues, with PCOS, with blood sugar issues, with trauma that a lot of us have from the past, you know, any neurodivergency. We're going to dive into all of that today. But all of what you guys are describing, I see here, it's more like procrastination, but when the motivation is good, it's good, otherwise non-existent. We're going to dive into this today because, as Justine said, you guys are not alone, okay? So, consistency. That's ultimately, and I don't know about you guys, but for me, it's like it feels like this pipe dream of comfort, right? If I can just get consistent, if I could consistently do X, Y, and Z, everything will be better. If I can consistently feel a certain way, consistently act a certain way, consistently eat a certain way. It's like this thing we're all just trying so hard for, right? But why do we only feel motivated when we start something? If we're in such a pursuit for consistency, but in our pursuit of, let's say, trying something new for consistency and beating ourselves up until we get on, we have this new thing we're trying and this new process we're pursuing and all of that. It's ultimately in the name of consistency, but isn't it ironic that having that, needing that feeling of newness becomes the only source of motivation we can find? So newness or, oh shit, I'm gonna lose my job, or oh shit, I'm gonna, something bad's gonna happen. Like that stuff, that anxiety shouldn't be motivation. So today we're gonna dive into how can we reach consistency without necessarily needing to feel motivated all the time, right? So to break into that, at first I asked you what's your relationship like with motivation, but now I want to ask you in your brain, in your words, what does perfect motivation look like? Let's say you had perfect motivation. Every day you woke up, you were highly motivated. What would that look like for you? And if it's hard to think of, that's the intention. It's meant to make us go, I don't know. and then have to think about it and be like, oh, I'd get more stuff done. Okay. But what does real, like, it's something we all wish we had more of, right? But what the fuck is it? So, motivation is not the answer. It has to be something that is just kind of second nature for us to make any lasting changes. It has to be something we don't need to be motivated to do. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, but we're going to get through some tools today so that you still get stuff done, but that you don't feel like you need this constant fire source for you to get things done. It can just become a baseline, right? That's the goal. What are you guys saying? What's motivation? The opening song from Legally Blonde would play, and I'd get up and go every morning. I love it. You'd need the little chihuahua in the purse, though. That's the caveat. Being good at a regular routine. Yeah. It looks like energy and knowing what to do and not having to convince myself to do it. I think that's really important that you mentioned both parts, though, because I think we think of motivation as energy, or if we're lacking energy, we often feel like we're lacking motivation. But it's important, that second part that you put there, you need to know what the hell to do with it. Because I don't know about you guys, but if you have any kind of neurodivergence, if anyone's been in this situation where you kind of like do have energy and you feel anxious about needing to do a million things, but you don't know what the hell to do with it. So you just stay stuck. Um, and that's on executive function, dysfunction, I should say. So that's a very good thing that you mentioned both parts of that, Justine. So let's see, my notes are very extensive. So what actually drives consistency, right? It's our habits, it's our identity, and it's our small wins. If you're taking notes, what drives consistency? Our habits, our identity, and our small wins. So let's get into what the hell that means, okay? So I have a 3-point system here that I mapped out for staying consistent, right? And first one, you guys are going to be like, oh, groundbreaking. If you've been in CCA for longer than like a month, it's going to be like, really? This is your amazing information you're giving us? But make it so small, you can't fail. That's the first thing. Make it so small, you can't fail. And this one comes from James Clear's Atomic Habits. So that's one of the books we were going to read potentially in our CCA book club. But in Atomic Habits, it's something called the 2-minute rule. Who's heard of it? Anybody in here? Put a 1 in the chat if you've heard of that. The 2-minute rule. So let me put my notes here so I don't constantly have to look off and give myself a headache. Okay. So the 2-minute rule starts with ridiculously small steps, like baby steps. The whole program, the whole CCA, it's all built on baby steps, little things that add up, little things that get you into a routine, right? So the 2-minute rule is to start with ridiculously small steps that almost seem like a waste of time. That's how small they are, right? So when you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. When I heard that, I was like, what do you mean? Like it should take less than 2 minutes to do. And it's not a matter of you having to do it fast. It's a matter of setting your expectations to the point where a 2-minute worthy task when you're starting a habit is still something that you celebrate. It's still an accomplishment. It still means something if you do something for 2 minutes versus sitting and thinking about it and not doing anything at all. Like baby steps. So it's the same thing, right? But it puts it into a format. So instead of like, I have to work out, it would be, I have to put my workout shoes on. See how ridiculously small that is, right? I mean, I would argue to say it would take even less than 2 minutes to put your shoes on. To me, these days, it depends, but I'm still working on the whole ab strength thing. But it should be something so simple because the idea, if you've heard me use the analogy of like, you ever start cleaning something and you start with a drawer and you're just putting things, you're just throwing things out. And before you know it, you have your kitchen ripped apart. Now that has its problems too, right? Because then you're like halfway through and you're looking at your destroyed kitchen and you're like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to put it away. But it's the philosophy of getting started with something is that if you just, which is the hardest part, get started and break it into a 2 minute, easy as hell thing, it causes this little dopamine drop that makes you feel like you did something. And it makes you want to continue doing that. That's why with executive function, which is super common for those of us with ADHD, AUD-HD, ASD, like all the acronyms, executive dysfunction plays in a lot. Even with things like depression, anxiety, though executive dysfunction is rampant. And in any case that you find that to be the, anytime you find executive dysfunction, it always starts with the first step. That is the hardest. So that's the first thing. You want to make it so small that it's ridiculously doable. My current moment is if I leave my house, I have to take something with me, trash, recycling, or anything. I need to put it in my car. Yeah, that's a really good one. And it might be hard for you to do that, right? It might be that the first time you do that, it's like, I just have to put it by the door. Like if you find yourself like getting in your car and you're like, crap, I didn't bring anything with me, then break it down even smaller, and make it like, I'm going to put the container literally in front of the door. That might take a lot of executive function on any given day, even if it seems on the outside to be so ridiculously small to someone else. So, but that's a good example. If you leave the house, you got to take something with you, right? But see if you need to break it down beforehand. So the first one, the 2 minute rule. That's a huge one, baby steps essentially. So even though like I want you guys to take this concept into your own situation, your own life. Of course, we could talk about your baby steps. We have baby steps that we're doing, right? But I want you to more so think about the concept of baby steps. And if there is something that you're beating your head up against a wall, trying to be motivated enough to do on the daily level, then that's going to be the thing that I want you to think about. How can I baby step this? I'm here to talk to you about it, of course, but on your own, because I do that every day. As soon as I hit a block, baby step it. What's better than nothing? And that took a lot of work too, getting to that point of better than nothing. I used to think that was a cop out. My expectation used to be sky high. And I used to think if you had lower expectations, you just weren't a serious person. You weren't motivated, but I didn't do shit. I just hated myself for it. I'm far more efficient not thinking that way, So it takes time, but that's the first one. The second one is you build momentum with quick wins. Like I said, with the dopamine drop, right? So you have your little baby step, you break it down. What did I write here? Oh, the don't break the chain method. So this is tracking small wins to help you build confidence. It's called don't break the chain. This method helps build consistency by tracking your daily habits. This is going to be something you're going to create, like a list. And this isn't going to be your like everything you ever have to do in your life to-do list that just keeps, growing and growing. This is its own visual thing. You want to create this for visual context with the thing you're dealing with, right? So you want to choose a habit, eating enough protein, moving daily, getting your shoes to go to the gym. Like I was saying, whatever your habit is going to be, whatever you're going to break it down to be, you want to track it. And this is going to sound so simple. You want to track it by marking an X every day you do it, one at a time. So you put your habit up there. Let's say you want to do your food baby step, right? And you put an X every day that you complete it. Oh, that's really groundbreaking, right? But it's the idea of seeing the streak. It's similar to like if you've ever played Duolingo, anyone in here, or I mean not played it, but it's like a language learning tool, and they give you your daily streak. I think a lot of apps do that. Like they, keep up a daily streak that what is it? The Apple Watch is like closing your rings or something. There's a lot of visual aids out there that are meant to help us stay motivated following this principle. It's not a complex principle, So it builds momentum, it removes the need for motivation, and it relies on creating something that becomes routine. Like second nature, like I was saying in the beginning of the Zoom. You're not trying to do this temporarily. You're trying to make life changes, changes that are going to last you forever. So if you're hearing me so far and you're like, this sounds so easy, so simple, I want something harder, evaluate why. Because if you're feeling stuck and you're waiting for motivation to kick you into gear, and it hasn't happened, and maybe it'll happen once a calendar year, and you're waiting for that time that it really pulls through, it's just wasted time when in that interim you could be doing little things that lead there anyway. It's still better than, I use the analogy, I don't know if this makes sense to anyone, any of you guys, but I use the analogy of don't be a video of you sitting down on fast forward. Think about that. If you're sitting down on video and someone's, hitting the fast forward and it's going, what's changing? You're sitting. Like even though everything's being sped up, you're sitting. And I feel like that could be what waiting for motivation is like. Waiting for motivation to hit you is like you sitting down, like a video of you sitting down on fast forward. So what if you got up and you slowly did stuff? So what are our thoughts so far? Like I said, none of this is something you maybe haven't heard from me. We do our baby steps, but having the 2-minute rule where when you start a habit, you should break it down into a 2-minute little digestible chunk to begin. And then don't break the chain, where you're writing it down and you're putting an X underneath it for every day that you complete it. And the goal is to don't break the chain. Keep it going every day. So you have your digestible thing to do, and then you have your method to keep trying to do it. What are your thoughts? Well, that's a good question. Tracking is so hard. What happens when you break the chain? Because you will, we all do. Do you just keep going? Yeah, absolutely. It's up to you if you want to keep going without even mentioning the break, or if you want to kind of go into another line, you know, if you want to start a whole new sheet. It's really up to you. I don't like starting over. This might be a little tangenty, but bear with me. I don't know if any of you guys have ever heard of the harm reduction approach to things. And it's the idea that if you can't get someone to completely do something a certain way, you find a way to do it that's going to reduce harm. It's like the I don't want to say it, but it's kind of like the lesser of evils in a way. Right? So instead of it being, I mentioned this last week when we were talking about GLP-1s, right? So instead of being someone who's like, no, I'm against them, let's not, blah, 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 blah. How about let's figure out, I have a lot of clients who have been getting on them, right? So let's figure out how to do them in a safe way, an efficient way. Let's mitigate the harm, let's reduce the harm that can come from doing the thing. Because if you can't, what's it called? What's the saying? If you can't beat them, join them in a way, kind of. It's the same thing here. So I don't like feeling like if you mess up, you're back at zero, because I find that to be so demotivating that it kind of it causes, in my experience, a stall in starting up again, because you feel bad for breaking the chain. So in my opinion, I would probably just like maybe put a little space and keep putting an X, or go to the next line, but I wouldn't like start over from zero, because I think visually that might be really daunting. If you got 20 days in a row and you miss one day and now you're back at zero, that's just defeating in my opinion. So you could do whatever you would feel best with, but I personally wouldn't. Like, I would just keep going, like you said. Good question. Okay. So that tackles the overall overwhelm of I don't have motivation, but how do I do the thing? Right? You start small. Now, what do you do if you have mental resistance to that? Because those of us with neurodivergence, especially, we have demand avoidance, which is a real bitch. Who in here feels they have experienced demand avoidance? Which is basically knowing you have a certain demand put on you, and for some reason it is like a complete block. You just don't do it. You just literally do anything else. The stakes are high, and you wait till like the last possible minute. Someone else mentioned procrastination before, but you're like, it's demand avoidance. It's the reason for procrastination typically. That's why I miss every single Amazon return window ever, which is super annoying. because Kohl's is down the block, but I digress. But it's like you understand what's expected of you. It can even be as simple as someone suggesting a movie to you, you don't want to watch that movie. If someone suggests a book to you, you won't read that book. I know, and logically you could be annoyed at that being the case. You could be like, why am I like this? Like, why, what, and you can logic around it with the baby steps and the 2-minute rule and all that bullshit. But ultimately it comes down to that wall where it's like, I just won't. I struggle with this a lot in the past. And I honestly still have to really coach myself through it. I didn't just, there's no amount of training that makes you not neurodivergent anymore, So it's something that you grow and progress with. So, Amanda, if you're going to attack me like this, just call me by name next time. Oh, man. It's almost like we're not alone, right? So when that happens, I think it's important to stop and deal with the mental resistance of it. I think it's important to evaluate in the moment and be like, wait a second, I'm feeling like I don't feel well about this. Like, what the hell am I feeling about this thing that I know I have to consistently do it. I know I need to have the motivation to just get up and do it, but I just don't want to. That's when you got to look into it, right? And this take 5 minutes. And at that point, I know it's going to sound random, but I want you to do what I call the 5-5 rule. We got a whole bunch of shit here, right? Let me type this out. Hold on. So we got the 2-minute rule. We got the don't break the chain. And I will upload these outline notes to the page. Don't break the chain. And now we got the 5-5. Okay, so 5-5, those of you who've been with me for a minute, you might already remember this, but 5-5 rule is a grounding technique. And it takes you from up here and it puts you present again. So what that means is you want to take 5 minutes, close your laptop, look away, go to the bathroom, go do something, but get up from where you are for 5 minutes. And you can put a timer on your phone if you want, if you're afraid that you'll go longer or whatever. But you want to think of 5 things that are good and 5 things that are true. 5 things that are good and 5 things that are true. Here's the detail in that, though. I don't want you to think, okay, 5 things that are good. I don't know. I'm trying to think of something silly and like overly general. I'm going on vacation in July. Okay, that's great, but that's not right now. So you want to stay very present to be 5 things that are good right now, right where you're sitting, right in the room that you're in, right as you exist in this moment, not down the line forever from now, right now. What's good, right? Okay, as an example, the conditioner I used on my hair a little while ago smells friggin' amazing. Like smells so good. I love it. And it stays in my hair for like, whether I air dry, blow dry, whatever, my hair will smell like this till I wash it again. I friggin' love it. So that's good. 5 things that are good. I like my water flavoring. I enjoy this. It's the Propel electrolyte packet, sugar-free, kiwi, strawberry, friggin' delicious. You get the point, right? So 5 things, and it should be something you have to think about. That's why you have to stop and be super present with it, because that's the whole point of the exercise, is to not just rattle off 5 things, but to like really focus. Like, the food we have going right now smells really good. That's good. My socks are really cushy right now and they're comfy on my feet. Okay. And then 5 things that are true. That's easier. I'm sitting in a chair. I'm in my dining room. I hear Angelo pissed off that he's being burped and not fed instead. It's a comfy, I don't know, that's probably good that it's a comfy temperature in here. My table's made of epoxy. I don't know. 5 things that are true, 5 things that are good. It helps take you away from beating the dead horse, like, why can't I be a certain way? What's wrong with me? It takes you out of that And it puts you into the, okay, I'm right here right now. I don't need to think about what I'm not doing, what I'm my shortcomings. Like that's out there. That's thoughts for out there. Right now, I'm right here. And then I know it sounds silly, but try it. It makes it easier then to stop and do the 2 minute rule or don't break the chain. It makes it easier to do those things if you're not in, thinking a million different things and just pissed off that you don't have motivation. It's, waiting for motivation. It's like waiting for, I don't know, the wind to blow a certain way. You can't bank on that. You can bank on these tools, you know, 2 minute rule. I just missed a few minutes by taking out the trash again while cleaning my house like a crazy person because the box fell over. What do you mean? Do you need me to explain the 2 minute rule for you? I'm not, I might be shot from talking to people all day, but if you could clarify. So the most important thing is to remember the motivation of, oh, it's a motivational moment. Okay, good. I'm glad. Oh, you mean you took out the trash just now? Awesome job, Kathy. Welcome back. But yeah, I think thinking for, the newness of stuff, waiting for either the newness of something to be exciting or the fear of falling behind on something, of dropping the ball on something. Don't look to those things to be your motivation. You know why? Because those tend to be stress hormone related. That motivation is typically stress hormone related. You're feeling adrenaline. You're not feeling true motivation. You're feeling the euphoria from the adrenaline of something new because it holds the answers to all your problems and now your life is solved. And you feel the stress motivation from when you're like, oh shit, I have no time to do this. I got to step on it. And I think a lot of us, especially not to repeat myself, but a lot of neurodivergent people, we rely on that kind of energy. But that's why people who are neurodivergent have a documented much higher rate of chronic illness and hormone imbalance. It's because we're relying on the most stressful things to give us the energy we need to do what we got to do. So I see a yep. Put a 1 in the chat if you're relating to this, if this is hitting home for you. Put a 1 in the chat if this is hitting home for you and you're relating to it. Yeah, we got a couple ones. Yes, ma'am. So I think, at the end of the day, this time of year is really interesting for motivation because, hey, winter's done, right? I think today was like literally the first day of spring, wasn't it? What day is it? I think, yeah, today's the first day of spring. Oh my God. It didn't feel like spring exactly, but Gabby, I heard up by you because my sibling lives up by you that it was like gloomy all day. We had this like beautiful day down here for some reason. It was like blue skies and I think it was like a little chilly, but regardless, sorry, off topic. She was complaining because she's like, how could we have such different weather from being an hour and a half apart? But anyway, yeah, so you got the newness of spring, right? The winter's behind us. We're gonna be hopefully getting out and getting a little bit more sunlight, vitamin D finally, so we can crawl out of our seasonal depression cocoons. All of that's happening. But you know what's on the other side of spring? Summer. And there is something about the summer that, and I'm not even going down the path of like weight related stuff. It's just, I find there's just something about the summer that makes people want to have all of their shit together before it gets hot out. I don't know. I see it. I've been doing this for 10 years and people get a little bit wiry this time of year because it almost feels like, oh crap, where did the winter go? I have to get to action. A lot of different businesses tend to pick up because now we're outside of the holiday season, so things are ramping up. It's tax season in a lot of industries, so things get nuts this time of year. I think I've told a few of you guys that it's been crazy for us too, because now's when we get all the messages, the applications, I want to do everything right for, kind of This is the time of year. So that being said, the biggest killer for motivation, right? The elusive motivation. The biggest killer is comparison. Comparing yourself to other people, what other people are doing. Comparing yourself to yourself, right? If you had this idea that you would be in a certain place by this point in your life and you're not there, you're comparing yourself to yourself, right? Comparison, I'm sure you've all heard this quote before. Comparison is the thief of joy. It doesn't teach you anything. I know we feel like maybe we need comparison as motivation, right? But that's a myth. All comparison does is make you feel like shit and make you feel behind. And people are less likely to be motivated to do things if they feel perpetually behind. See what you guys are saying. First day of spring and it snowed. Oh no. That sounds like honestly something crazy would happen in Jersey. We've had some one-off snowstorms before and it's like it's April. Why is it snowing? It's mind-blowing even though we're less than an hour away distance. Isn't it crazy? It has to be the elevation difference. That's why we get like tornadoes and stuff, which my first year moving down here, I grew up in northern New Jersey like my whole life. The first year down here, we had to fill out a claim for tornado damage to our fence. And I'm like, where the hell did we move? An hour south. That's it. So crazy. Anyway, I love summer and want to be back in everything summer. Yeah, it's just a different mood. I mean, granted, there's a lot of people who feel like summer is triggering for them. I used to hate the summer, even though I love the summer, but for other reasons. But it just feels like you got like, now's the time to have it all. You want to be carefree and happy by the summertime, but it's like we're working on things we've been working on for decades, There were so many new faces at the gym today, and I was like, everyone's trying to do something. Absolutely. Gyms get crazy now. I don't know if you guys have if you've ever heard of like Lifetime Fitness. They have gyms all over the country. I used to call them like, I'm dating myself here, but if anyone remembers Dodgeball, remember Globo Gym? I used to call it Globo Gym, and I worked there. And spring season, madness. All the sales reps loved it, but the rest of us didn't. Way more people now since last week I joined. Yep. I used to quit the gym between January and go back in March. Yep. Feel like I'm always catching up. Summer triggers me and I get depressed and demotivated. See, that's why I think having a different spin on motivation and working on the not comparing, on the complete allowance and forgiveness to take however long you got to take to do this is not because you're a shitbag. However long you got to take to do this is because you're trying to work out the kinks and figure something out that maybe you haven't before, So I'm excited to work with you this summer to kind of change that, You okay back there? Sorry, there was a loud bang at the oven. Lifetime costs $175 a month. No, you know why I used to go to Lifetime? Because I worked there, because it was free. That's why it was crazy. Even back then, like I'm talking 2009, 2010, and it was $100 a month per person. And that was like completely unaffordable to me back then. I'm actually surprised it hasn't gone up. But man, if you can get a day pass to one of those places, insane. They have a rock gym inside. They have like a crazy pool. Most of the facilities have crazy pools outside with cafes and cabanas. And it's like a day club gym. Crazy. My mom's like, you never mind going to that gym? I'm like, yeah. Summer is my hermit season. That's also the truth for a lot of people. Chronic illness too. A lot of, we're heat sensitive as well as cold sensitive. Lucky us. So Sacramento summer is supposedly like 110 to 114 degrees. You Californians, Arizonans, those parts of I got clients from Nevada that tell me the same thing. I love the heat, but less up. Um, looking forward to doing summer things, but never looking forward to the heat. Yeah, 100%. And then but the issue is the motivation's different leading up to summer, but then the slowest season of the year for anybody in the health industry, I feel, is like July to September. And then it gets crazy again before Christmas, or the holidays, I should say. But yeah, no, once we get to summer, people are like, well, I'm shot. I tried. They're like, it's hot out. I want to go to the beach. I don't give a shit. I'm going to eat the burger at the cookout, which is fine too. But it's so funny. There is a huge, like a build up, and then so that being said, don't wait for motivation. All right. There's one thing that you take away from this. And like I said, I'm going to post this outline in the page. I'm going to go do it right now so I don't freaking forget, right? Right meow as soon as we hang up. I'm going to go do it. But don't wait for motivation. Try to outsmart motivation. And you have me to help you as well. We can game plan about it. We can chat it. If you're like, I don't know what the fuck you talked about for an hour, Michelle, tell me and we can map it out for you. But these tools help kind of strategize around motivation. So you're not just waiting for, like I said before, the wind to blow a certain way and be like, oh, I can do things today, and then have that be short-lived. It's depressing waiting for that to kick in. Yeah, I don't know about you, but back in the day, it used to make me feel like I was like, what's wrong with me? Like, I feel broken. I feel like I'm on the island of misfit toys or something. Like, I used to say, I feel like everybody got a memo on how to like be an adult and do this shit, and I missed the memo. Like, I missed the orientation class that everybody else seemed to get to. But that's not the case. It's just having to think about how my brain worked and to not chase the myth of motivation. That's really it. Chances are, and that reminds me of circling back to the whole comparison thing. I bet you that the person you are comparing yourself to, if it's not you comparing, you to yourself, if you're comparing yourself to someone else, typically it's some stranger that we see, the gym, the office, just somebody that if you're ever doing that, I want you to remember that that person is probably comparing themselves to someone else. They're probably not seeing themselves with the same eyes that you are seeing them. How do I know this? Because there are people in your life that see you with different eyes than you see yourself. We all have it. We're all human, right? We all get a little bit self-conscious, right? So the person, if you find yourself comparing and building this story of like, well, that person has it all together, I want you to realize, no, I don't think anyone has it together these days, especially. So just keep that in mind. Outsmart motivation. Don't just wait for it to come to you. Don't freaking compare yourself. Take 5 minutes to stop and ground yourself and bring yourself back to the present. If you feel like you're surrounded by all this shit you haven't done well enough, right? And try to bring it back to the basics. What am I doing right now? What can I do quickly, easily, just to get moving? Fuck motivation. Pardon my language. I don't think there's any kids listening, but whatever. So my therapist has a therapist because she is a work in progress too. Absolutely. Everybody. I remember one time I asked my therapist, I was like, hey, so this is when I first started coaching. And I'm like, do you ever find that it's like easier for you to guide people than to like take your own advice? Like, do you ever find yourself telling people something and you're like, I should probably listen to my own advice? And she laughed and she was like, absolutely. And she said, she goes, that's why therapists have therapists. She's like, it's not because we don't know, like we're not lying to you. We are genuinely mean the things that we're guiding you to do. We are educated in this topic, but we're human. And it's always different when you are in it and you're trying to do it yourself, So that being said, I don't want you guys to ever think that I'm let down with you guys if you aren't like on the ball, because I don't expect any of you to be. I'm not. We're all just out here doing our best. So before you guys go, I feel like this was a quick one, but we're at about 45 minutes. But before we jump, I want to know, tell me in the chat, what was your biggest takeaway today? Or what do you want to talk one-on-one more about? Your biggest takeaway, or what would you like to talk more about one-on-one? If you feel comfortable sharing, I would love to see it in the chat. Biggest takeaway, or what you would like to work more on one-on-one. Not waiting for motivation. I'm so bad for this. It is. I feel like, you ever get like a good kick in the ass of caffeine and feel like you can take on the world, and then 2 hours later, you're like, what am I doing? I feel like that's what I feel like waiting for motivation is like. So tell me in chat, biggest takeaway and what you would like to work on, or what you would like to work on more. Need to think about this one, and I'm totally texting you before our next call. Love it. I'll be here. So much to process. Working on the self-talk. How do I help myself be nicer to myself when I'm not crushing it? 5-5. Hell yeah. Not waiting for motivation, but doing don't break the chain, or 2-minute tasks to chip away. I love that description, to chip away. It's exactly it. The identity and comparison piece. It's so huge. So huge. No one wants to see their reflection in their shortcomings, right? How often we judge ourselves and criticize ourselves and stuff. We have so much more to look at than what we're comparing and criticizing. The 5-5 rule, that one's my favorite. I love it because, it's, again, anybody who's been in a long-term therapy has probably been annoyed at their therapist for suggesting something similar. But I just love taking that 5-minute break to just really think about what the hell's around me, because it sounds simple, but I don't remember to do it all the time, So I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your evening. I'm very excited to talk to you more one-on-one. I hope that this made you guys feel something positive. And if you have any questions, I'll catch up with you soon. Have a great rest of your night. Love y'all. Bye.